evening and welcome. This is President Polo Podcast, open topic, with my co-host tonight, Mikey Bats.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Mike, aka Mikey Bats, Las Vegas, Nevada. We are here in front of the Luxor and the Sphinx. It's a Friday night, and Friday night, October 3rd, 2025. And yeah, I met this person right here today during UFC weigh-ins. We were out and about, doing meet and greets. Not us. Nobody wants to meet us. It's we went to a meet and greet we met during the Brandon Moreno meet and greet at the Alibi Ultra Lounge inside the Aria. And one thing led to another, and he's like, "Hey man, you want to do a live stream chat?" I'm like, "Sure, why not? C'est la vie, right?" So yeah. So guys, what do you want to talk about?
Cody Rhodes. He was booed out of WrestleMania when the live crowd was cheering John Cena when he was a heel.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I think for a lot of people, when they realized when John Cena had turned heel, that it was wish fulfillment and fan service for something that we had long. I think the irony of John Cena turning heel was, it's not that anyone wanted him to be a bad guy, right? They wanted him to break from the norm and complacency of what his face run was. He was at least for me. First of all, you're speaking to the right person, because I was kind of a John Cena hater. Kind of. I am.
Can't wrestle.
Right.
In fact, can't wrestle.
In fact, depending on who you ask, and he was very much the reason why I started watching more MMA in the mid 2000s rather than WWE. I mean, I still watch wrestling. I still dabbled. I still definitely checked out the pay-per-views and all that stuff. But he was just so. I don't want to say vanilla. I don't want to say boring and serious. For me, and of course, I was an adult at the time, a young adult. I was in my 20s, and it just wasn't what I was interested in. I didn't even mind that he was an underdog. An underdog was fine. We all grew up rooting for underdog characters, but to me it was how disingenuous the character was and the booking of his character was. Like, how does a guy
At what era?
During the ruthless aggression era?
Okay.
It felt, I didn't mind him being an underdog as a face when it suited him, but once he started becoming Super Cena and started winning matches, started beating everybody that both kayfabe and non-kayfabe were probably as good, if not better than him in ring. Now, characters is subjective. Some guys are better talkers and all that stuff. But I remember when right before Kurt Angle left WWE in 2006 for TNA, he had a feud with John Cena. John Cena, he put over John Cena in that feud. And there was ironic cheering for Kurt Angle as the heel.
Yeah, very much so. You put him over.
Yeah.
Which makes him a GOAT.
Right.
GOAT
Listen,
Kurt is awesome.
Kurt Angle is one of the greatest of all time, for sure. He's not in my top 5, and that's not because he doesn't deserve to be there. It's just that my top 5 is very...
Is he in the WWE Hall of Fame?
I would put him in there, absolutely.
I think he eventually will be, right?
I think
he's in already.
Well, I think the irony of Kurt Angle is he's actually known more as a TNA guy, but his run in WWE was so, not inspiring,
iconic.
so iconic that
you suck.
You suck. First of all, that theme is really cool. And there was 3 versions of it. It was really cool. But yeah, I think my main thing with John Cena was, I think the dichotomy of John Cena was, as a character, I wasn't the most sold on it, but as a human, he was a good superstar. He had the charisma. He clearly had the mic skills, even though they were corny at the time. But it's just, I could see why he wanted to be. So I actually loved him as a heel. That Dr. Thegonomics thing, I actually loved that initially, because as a heel, it was brash. It was, legit polarizing, and more importantly, it was funny. When he basically became his Marine character as John Cena.
Yeah, he totally did.
Yeah, I think that's
he ripped off his own character.
Yeah, he ripped off
his
his
own. He
own,
wrote that.
Yeah,
right?
I think that was what ironic. Like, here is John Cena. Especially, like I said, it's the self-awareness of the character, both in kayfabe and reality, that started to bother me about him. It was this blend of, like, I didn't like the on-screen character, and then the person himself started to bother me because I'm just like, wait, dude, like, how are you hip-hop, but then you do the Marine salute? How are you supposed to be edgy and controversial, but you wear primary colors?
How about the run-up to the legendary WrestleMania once in a lifetime that became twice in a lifetime with The Rock? So he tried to break out thugonomics on him, right? Which was kind of already old by then.
Well, the funny thing at that point, that was just a dream match of the clash of personalities, in many ways mirroring each other. Because remember, The Rock, they tried to push as a super baby face, like the baby face, and the crowd rejected them because it was ironic, not even ironic.
You're talking the Rocky Maivia phase?
Yeah. They were trying to push him as the super baby face.
A blue chip.
Like, not just the blue chip baby face, like this guy is somebody you should root for. And it got to a point where it was so forced fed that it felt disingenuous. None of it felt organic, and that's what happened with John Cena, with his hustle, loyalty, and respect. Right? He changed Dr. Thugonomics to hustle, loyalty, and respect, and never mind the cultural appropriation of the character to a certain extent when he was Dr. Thugonomics. Even because it's funny because he tried to blend the two without explicitly saying he was doing it. He was hustle, loyalty, and respect. I'm like, wait a minute, you're still dressed like you're the Dr. Thugonomics, but you're Barney. You know what I mean? I always found that so, again, the word is disingenuous. And I think for the kids, obviously, they loved it. But for the adults, for the young adults, to the, older wrestling fans, it started to feel more insulting. Because we already did the Hulk Hogan thing. But the irony of the Hulk Hogan gimmick was that the character of Hulk Hogan stuck to that ethos. He was and always will have been. Hulkamania was a superhero. He was Superman. And John Cena became Superman while also trying to convince that he was just everyman. And that's when it started to rub me the wrong way. Every time he was the underdog, even though he was the guy. Like, that's why CM Punk's pipe bomb was so iconic, because it called out those deficiencies in the character where you're like, how can you be the guy that's the underdog while being the face of the company? At some point, you just need to let go of the reins, especially when it felt like it was a detriment to the product. Listen, I understand the business. The business of wrestling is
What did you think about the reverse pipe bomb that John Cena did in the lead up to their little match? Did you see that?
I barely did, but I don't. Even though I never saw it, I kind of in spirit knew exactly what he was trying to say.
And then CM Punk laid there on the table for like 10 minutes. And he was cutting a promo on him and pipe bombing him.
Yeah. I think.
And then afterwards, CM Punk said, those Slim Jim tables, they actually are harder than the other tables. And man, that really laid me out.
Well, like I said, I think what frustrated me about that feud was that the authenticity, ironically enough, felt stripped away. It felt manufactured. It felt like WWE. And this is a problem that WWE has had over the last 20 years in this modern era, is that they'll take organic things and decide that it's going to be something they want to commodify. They would, either fans or wrestlers or even just happenstance things would occur where something organic would happen, and then when WWE realizes what fans like, they want to streamline it. They want to make it commercialized. Like, for example, the one fall, Remember in the NXT crowds, the ring announcer would go, the following contest is scheduled for one fall, and then the crowd would echo one fall.
Yeah, they echo a lot of stuff. They cheer everything.
Yeah, listen, pro wrestling fans should be held accountable for the stuff that they do too, but what WWE became very well known for, especially in the late modern age, is that they cynically would always try to take everything that felt organic and pure.
Cynically, why would you say that?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you say.
I still fell for that shit. It's just, but again, back to what I was saying, listen, John Cena is no doubt one of the greatest of all time. Legitimately, I'm being authentic here. Even though I never thought he was the best wrestler in ring in terms of his overall skill set.
You went on about John Cena, but what I brought up, he said, "What do you want to talk about?" And I said, Cody Rhodes.
Oh,
why is he like on the precipice of being put over, but then has this kind of draw like that he's not quite at the elite state? What can propel him to Stone Cold status or John Cena status?
Well, the funny thing is not about him propelling himself to John Cena status.
I think he's up there.
Well, first of all, that gimmick, in my opinion, was done as an antithesis to his dad on purpose, and more importantly, because it was kind of like a send-off of what Vince McMahon is, or in Triple H. And remember, the son of the American Dream is called the American Nightmare. Think about it, right? I think what's happening to
reminds
him...
me of Stephen Bonner's nickname. Stephen Bonner. He was
the American Psycho. Yeah. But the thing with Cody is... By the way, I'm a Cody fan. I was at the first AEW show in 2019. I was at the first Double or Nothing. I was at the ticket rally. I firmly believed in his vision. I actually called him going back to WWE. I said, listen, man, the reason why he built the rapport he did in the Indies was to prove to WWE primarily, if not explicitly.
Did you see Cody's
to prove to the WWE that they should have cut him. They didn't cut him, he left. But he felt like they were underutilizing him. Right? He felt like he was handcuffed.
Right, which he was right.
Yeah, he was handcuffed in WWE. That's why.
If you play the video game, you see all these little side characters that he was doing and his gimmicks.
Yeah,
like it wasn't really like.
It wasn't something you could see.
It was journeyman stuff.
It felt forced to him. Like it felt like it wasn't. To Cody's credit,
it was Weekend Warrior.
Yeah, the funny thing about it is that the dash of Cody Rhodes, the mask, all that stuff. It was clearly him trying to make the best of what he was given. And when he became the American Nightmare, that felt entirely of his own creation. That was something that was his baby, and he got to... I felt like it was as much about reinventing himself as well as showing WWE, hey, look what you could have had if you let me be. And I think that's really the lesson he was trying to teach WWE. It's like he never wanted to leave. He just wanted the freedom to express the characters he wanted to express, not Stardust, not, whatever, dashing Cody Rhodes, which is funny because when you take a look at the American Nightmare, the manicisms, if that's a word, there's a lot of it is derived from Stardust and, the dashing character. Very much so. The American Nightmare doesn't exist without those characters. But again, there's a difference between how he was able to tell his story as he wanted it to be told and what he was given while he was in WWE. I genuinely think that was one of the biggest fumbles WWE had, because they didn't need to... Listen, yes, was he young? Was he kind of green back then? He absolutely was. But there's this funny thing, because it's easy in hindsight to say, well, that's why they let him go. WWE has this thing where they never try to hold themselves accountable. They know they screwed up, but then because of how it turned out, they're saying, see, aren't you glad? They want us to insult my intelligence and want me to believe that they actually torpedoed him on purpose so he could find himself outside WWE. I don't
Do you
believe
think
that.
they even know what they're doing in creative? They're just kind of winging it, right?
Yeah, no, there's definitely a sense of there's definitely a lack of continuity in their booking logic. And it almost, which is, sometimes that can work to your advantage. Sometimes it's okay to change booking logic because of what react. Like, wait a second, the crowd likes this. Let's pivot. Let's change up. But I think you also just need to trust your talent. You need to trust your talent. You need to rely on them being able to, go with their gut. Maybe not explicitly all the time, because you never want the inmates to run the asylum, both as the fans and the talent. You never want those guys to just have carte blanche what to do with everything.
Cody Rhodes! Cody Rhodes! You heard about his cameo in Naked Gun with Liam Neeson?
Yeah, I think I saw that scene actually online. It's he has a natural knack for this stuff. He was supposed to be an actor, as we all famously heard.
Yeah, well, that thing with him selling his soul to The Rock, right? Yeah. It's like, I can get you in movies, all kinds of stuff. So he was in Naked Gun with Liam Neeson. And, I mean, I laughed my ass off.
Oh, that's right.
And I've been waiting for another Liam Neeson comedy that's not just a side character.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you watched Daddy's Home Part 2, he's off screen.
Oh yeah.
On the theater saying funny stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like Ted. He comes in with the Lucky Charms and has a stinker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Cody did pretty good. There's a little gag about his face turning rubber and stuff like that. But
he's gonna be Guile in the Street Fighter movie. That's kind of wild to me because he does fit the part, but I don't know if his type of charisma is what the character needs. Guile is not necessarily a.
It's gonna be better than Jean-Claude Van Damme's one. We all love Jesse.
Hey!
But
watch it.
That French guy isn't Guile.
He's Belgian. The muscles from Brussels. And
French Canadian sounds like. It sounds like GSP.
No.
He does. My name is Jean-Claude Van Damme. I tried to tell you. I don't know. It kind of sounds like that.
Wait, that wasn't even French Canadian. That just sounded like.
That
was like
foreign.
No.
Guile isn't foreign.
No, it sounded like drunk Creole. What the heck was that? What? Did you hear that? Like, what was that?
How about this?
It's like I feel like we need to have like a subtitle.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. If you're looking for ransom, I can tell you, Cody Rhodes, I don't have money, but I do have a very particular set of wrestling skills. He'll take on Cody Rhodes in a wrestling scene. It'd be funny.
Liam Neeson is a pro wrestler.
I will find you and I will kill you.
But no, listen, Cody Rhodes he's the face of the company, and along with Roman Reigns. And
acknowledge me.
You gotta acknowledge him. And it was very much his destiny. He's very much living up to all the promise that WWE hoped he would show back in 2016, 2011, stuff like that. I just felt like they didn't even need to. Not that it was on purpose, but I felt like if WWE actually trusted him to do his work properly and let him grow within his skin, then he wouldn't have had to leave. Which is interesting because what's the trajectory of pro wrestling had he not done that? Because while I still think AEW would have been a thing, there's no doubt that Cody's role in influencing the creation of AEW is undeniable. I mean, he organized the first All In. That's Vegas traffic.
Switching gears here, kind of Dana has been coming on my mind. He's in the news a lot lately.
Yeah.
He says a lot of the same talking points that we've heard over the years. He did a 60 Minutes interview.
Yeah.
That's got a lot of views. It's going
more
mainstream.
Of a puff piece and kind of like a hard-hitting.
I like the comment that he makes so often. He says that he doesn't have competition. It's true that he doesn't have competition in MMA, but he says my competition is what's in the movie theater that weekend. Anything that you're doing Saturday night, that's taking your eyes off of his product, is it's kind of an interesting point to look at it, and that just goes to show, like, I mean, he's making strides as far as what he's allowed the UFC brand to be on, because remember he was not in the Warrior, right?
Oh yeah.
And John Anik, which I complimented on that, him when I saw him, because I've been seeing him since like 2008. There was MMA Live, right? And MMA then like Live, that was an Oscar-worthy movie. But I heard Joe Grillo say in a podcast that he heard that Dana hates it. Frank Grillo, sorry.
Joe Grillo.
Frank Grillo, he says that Dana hates that movie Warrior, but I thought it was awesome. Like Nick Nolte got an Academy Award nomination.
Really
I mean, some of
Dan
it,
Hardy was really
I can understand why it's unrealistic. Like the same referee is doing 5 fights in a row, which we know is that. And also when Tom Hardy breaks his arm, they would have stopped the fight right then, right? But
artistic license, as they say.
But like, do you have an interesting take on any fight movie that you might want to defend? Like,
what do you mean?
I like Rocky V. People hate it.
Oh, right. Okay. I think one of the more interesting. I really enjoyed Here Comes the Boom. I understand that it wasn't like, it didn't break the mold. It wasn't, but it's one of the better. It's one of the better comedies centered around MMA because, above everything else, it was done with authentic intent. Kevin James is a real fan of MMA.
He really slimmed down for that.
Yeah, he did.
That was amazing.
Relatively. He's a fan of MMA. He's a fan of the UFC, and he wanted to. One of the things that helped MMA get mainstream, and just like in any other sports, is you want to have fans from other avenues that want to represent it. You know, you want Kevin James being a longtime fan. I mean, like I owned the library of the UFC from basically every pay-per-view from like 2003 to 2016 I owned on DVD. And if you look back at some of those old fight cards from the mid-2000s, Kevin James was at those fights.
Oh, yeah.
At a time when he was actually a fairly big deal on TV.
There was a scene in King of Queens, a dream sequence, where he brought Randy, he brought Rampage,
White,
a bunch of people.
Yeah, and like he's just... Here's the thing about not just MMA, but any sports fandom. You want to find authentic fans that weren't the modern term clout chasing off it. You know, like I never once did it feel like Kevin James was trying to be famous off of being an MMA fan. If anything, MMA was trying to be famous off of being, you know, Kevin James's favorite sport, or one of his favorite sports. You know, I know there's a very thin line between those crossovers that makes fans a little, you know, protective. But I think it's all about the authenticity from the participants. I mean, if somebody wants to be a fan and feels authentically, we can't gatekeep them, because that's how you grow sports. That's why the NFL is a big deal, because they want to embrace the fact that everyone watches it, and that it's not just a certain demographic or a certain group of people.
We're having great lighting here,
yeah,
by the way.
Really
this
cool.
is cool.
I love that.
Yeah, so like, speaking of Kevin James and Here Comes the Boom, I met Roy Nelson today, which I thought like
awesome.
Would be
Big
like
country.
a good like comparison to what his character was, like, because Roy is like someone who doesn't train, is knocking out people.
Well,
I thought it would have been funny if he went into the movie Here Comes the Boom and was knocking out a bunch of contenders and then making everyone look good, or making himself look good, making everyone look bad. Like, I thought it was gonna be funny that way.
Yeah.
But he actually worked his way up in the rankings, like you would realistically. Yeah. But I thought it was going to be just like a funny thing. Like, this fat guy's beating everybody up. Like Chris Farley, when in the movie Beverly Hills Ninja, he all of a sudden knows, like, really good. You didn't expect him to be a really good fighter. Yeah. And so he's like, no, I thought that was going to be funny.
No, the joke of Beverly Hills Ninja was that he was anatomically not fit to be a ninja. The joke of the Beverly Hills Ninja was he was a fat ninja. And a fat, clumsy ninja. And, Kevin James in Here Comes the Boom, ironically, felt more realistic than an absurdist take in MMA would be. You know what I mean? Yeah, a middle school teacher in his middle 40s or something, kind of taking amateur fights in, like, you know, the middle of nowhere. Behind.
Rich Franklin was a teacher.
Yeah, Rich Franklin was a teacher.
He became one of the best middleweights of all time.
Yeah.
If Anderson Silva didn't happen, like if
he would still
that Pride contract, you know, that was not necessarily locked down.
Yeah,
we signed him separately, and then he was like, I think it was like 22-2. Yeah, and he was a badass champ.
Because he had only two losses. He lost to Daichi Takase in Pride, and famously Ryo Chun. If you guys have never seen the fight between Ryo Chun and Anderson Silva. Shockwave.
I'm talking about Rich Franklin.
Rich Franklin?
When he was champion. Before he ran into that vicious knee that broke his nose.
Yeah.
He was a teacher and he had a great record. Mm-hmm. You know, I think he took the title from Evan Tanner.
Yeah.
But rest
in peace,
Evan Tanner. And then he did a business role in ONE FC, right? I don't know what he's doing now.
He was like kind of like a VP of talent or something with the ONE FC and one championship, excuse me. Get it right. As long with Misha Tate too. Misha Tate had a role in that company too until she left it.
And he tried to be an actor too. Yeah. His nickname was Ace because he looked like Jim Carrey a little bit.
I think what always fascinated about me with that nickname was that they said he looked like Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura, and I saw brief glimpses of it.
He looked more like Forrest Griffin than he did.
No, he didn't even. I get the Jim Carrey. I really do, but it's not, the synergy just wasn't the same. Like, I get it in passing how he could look like Ace Ventura or Jim Carrey as Ace Ventura, but it never, I mean, it was just like, if you were just told me he was called Ace because he was a teacher, You know, ace the test. I would have taken that. Corny, but I would have taken it. I'm like, okay, you're ace the test, right? Like former teacher Rich Ace Franklin. In fact, if he was just Ace Franklin, that would have made more sense to me.
Do you remember when he did fight Forrest and they had a tattoo bet?
No, I don't know. I forgot.
Yes,
about
they
that.
fought each other.
Yeah, they did
in the 2010s, and they're like, we gotta tell each other apart because all the fans are confusing us. So yes, there was this whole thing on social media, and then Forrest is like, okay, whoever loses gets a tattoo, so they can look different.
Yeah.
And Rich, he kind of took the coward's way out by getting a henna tattoo.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, he was kind of a samurai. He was kind of, you know, he lived the warrior's way when he could. So, man, Rich Franklin, modern MMA fans, I hope they don't forget him, because while there have been other champions and better fighters in that division, he was
if you look his run post the title, it was awesome too.
When this
Vanderlei Silva, didn't he knock out Chuck Liddell, right?
Yeah,
that was post title.
He retired Chuck Liddell, and you know, like I said, Rich Franklin is one of those underrated legends. Dare I say underappreciated, because everyone, again,
MMA wasn't at the level that it is today.
But he helped. In my opinion, he helped legitimize what it was to be an MMA fighter, because to that point, everyone thought MMA fighters were just, you know, drunken ball brawlers who did this stuff on the side during the weekend. You know, the silly stereotype is just a bunch of Cobra Kai guys. You know, that just did professional fight. You know, professional.
Did you finish that series?
I never even watched it, honestly. I just know I just know what Cobra Kai is.
Have you seen the original trilogy?
No. Oh, but well, Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I saw the original.
How about next Karate Kid?
The one with Hilary Swank?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that's the hidden gem in and of itself. I'm like, wait, Hilary Swank was the Karate Kid? She counts as a Karate Kid. Yeah. She was the $1 Million Baby and the Karate Kid. So,
and then there's the new one with Jackie Chan returning.
With the
and introducing a new Karate Kid.
Yeah.
That was like very endearing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I liked it. Did you see the new one?
No, I haven't seen the
Netflix.
New one yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
But
Cobra Kai never dies. I was cheering that Shama never dies, because Magomed Ankalaev said, I killed Shama. Shama's no more. I killed Shama. And I was like, Shama never dies. And I was cheering. I might post it in a video. And like, I was like totally trying to influence as much as I can, because I have money riding on that fight for Pereira. And I was like, respect, but your time is over, Magomed. And I was yelling, I was heckling him.
Well, what's tough is this is really very much. It's too overreactive to say this might be his last fight, but it's definitely a crossroads.
Wow.
You know,
I hope not.
No, I don't think he's gonna.
But Pereira, he is in his late 30s.
But
right.
He's a couple years younger than me. He's like
it is 2025.
Yes.
This guy started fighting.
Well, like I
probably
said,
2000.
Well, yeah. Well, the funny thing is, MMA in totality, he hasn't been in long, but his combat sports career overall puts him at about 20 years.
Training,
so
before that.
Yeah, and all the training.
Who knows what his amateur record was?
Yeah, I mean, that's even if he had an amateur record. You know,
I'm sure he do.
Because I wouldn't be surprised if he just started taking up fighting and just got better just from fighting as a pro. But listen, this fight week has been slow for UFC 320, but at the same time, the significance of it shouldn't be underplayed. It is, you know, it's a crossroads fight for Alex Pereira. It's like what they say in pro wrestling. It's like, okay, are you gonna be? This is the fork where the fork meets the road. Like, are you going to remain a former champion in contention, or are you going to devolve into a gatekeeper? You know, where in pro wrestling you're the mid card guy.
Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
Fighters have a really, really high amount of mental fortitude.
Right.
Just looking at the Ultimate Fighter, for instance, what really impressed me growing up and seeing it was the amount of training that goes into being an Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
And the cutting weight and the up close and stuff. So you have to, when you see different people's philosophy, you have to really have that mental fortitude, and you have to have life lessons to inform your fight game, because like some people say, it's 90% mental, 10% physical.
Yeah.
So when it comes to just really life in general, like, what do you think are some good life lessons out there for fighters that you think that could go a long way, just in terms of just like having the best holistic training camp, or just like what is your philosophy on health and wellness, really?
I mean, listen, I'm no expert. I'm just a dude, just with thoughts. But I think there has to be balance in everything. I think when you, not everything has to be applied equally across all avenues, right? Like the discipline that it takes to be a fighter doesn't have to be the same discipline it takes for you to be like a cashier at Walmart. You know what I mean? I think one of the things you can glean from martial arts philosophies is, I think it's about adaptability. It's about taking what those lessons you learn and applying it practically to your life. There are some universal truths that martial arts and real life can, you know, cross over with. Discipline, resilience, um, seeing something through. Sticking to a goal and trying to achieve it. Never being satisfied with being um, being ahead. Like, the funny thing, GSP, who's arguably the greatest MMA fighter of all time, when he was as most dominant, people would ask him, like, what is your motivation? You're better than everyone else. And I don't quote me, but he paraphrased it by like, the moment I accept that I'm the best I've ever been is the moment that means he's lost the will to pursue things.
The moment that I accept that I am the best I ever been,
Yeah.
is the moment that I cannot pursue that anymore.
Yeah.
And I cannot pursue that higher weight class and then come back down to welterweight.
I have no idea what that was.
And you can see me in Captain America,
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, coming soon.
Hey, he was awesome as Batroc in Captain America Winter Soldier. I kind of wanted him to have like a spin-off.
And he was in Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah, he was in Falcon Winter Soldier too. But I mean, like I said, man, I think like everything else in life, I just think people need to glean what they can accordingly from their philosophies. Because like I said, you can't shift hard into one aspect of it and then
think about Yuri.
Yeah.
Right? The legendary things he does, locks himself in a room for 3 days without food or water.
And it's like,
just to get himself psyched
so
out.
Impractical. Like, yeah, it sounds hardcore, but it's practical.
He's a warrior.
Like, oh, I'm a warrior. I'm just like, well, if you were a warrior, you'd be fighting naked half the time, and you wouldn't be using shin guards.
I think he's getting mature. I enjoyed his philosophy that he shared during the press conference, and talked about someone asked him if he had a PhD in like I don't know what it was in the fight world, and just kind of, he's very humble about it, and he has his own way, and he's not trying to impose or say like this is the way martial arts really should be done.
Well, I think what's interesting about Yuri is that he is definitely a guy that's trying to find himself through his art, and he also kind of wants to live that life where he kind of takes from all sorts of philosophies.
I mean, he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
He turned down a title shot this year
Yeah.
to finish his semester
Yeah.
in the university that he's at. Did you know that?
Yeah. No. When you hear him, when he got asked apparently at the presser about why he wanted to go to school, he just wanted to make sure his head was still good. And when I mean head, I mean like his mental faculties.
Right.
He wanted to make sure he was still able to retain information, memorize information, and just focus. And I don't know what that says about the state of the sport, where fighters have to go to university just to make sure their head's still working right. But hey, good for him. And I think that will help him understand his role better in the sport. I think as much as we love combat sports, it's very impractical to continue to do it on a long-term basis. You gotta have an exit strategy. You can't get addicted to the lifestyle, and can't get addicted. Listen, because there's few rushes in the world that can compete with the feeling of having victory, absolute victory over somebody in a one-on-one sport. Like, yeah, team sports is cool, but there can be some pratfalls to it. Like, AJ Brown, the Philadelphia Eagles, won the Super Bowl last season, and then kind of looked like he was relieved. Like, okay, cool, we won. Let's go, let's get back to work. He never looked like he never got to enjoy it. It just, he felt relieved more than anything. Like, okay, cool, I don't have to do this for the next 6 months, you know. And yeah, you just gotta
kind of. That's what happened when Rose Namajunas lost the title to Carla Esparza. I think.
The second time.
The second time, but then before that, who'd she lose it to? Jessica Andrade.
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm just glad that I don't have the pressure of like being champion.
And there's really something to that, because fans really don't understand that, you know, it's easy. Hello, ambulance. It's easy for, you know, for fans to look at a fighter or any pro athlete having success and be like, why wouldn't you want to continue doing that? I'm like, you know, heavy is the head that wears a crown. When you have that kind of much pressure to put upon yourself and things to carry, it weighs on you.
It's like, a lot of philosophies that go into fighting.
Yeah.
Like Rose, she has her own YouTube channel. She does a journal and a live chat with the fans and stuff, and she goes a lot about her beliefs and stuff. And it really informs, I think, your courage, your strength, your mental attitude, how you can get yourself psyched out, even like in face-offs.
Yeah.
Like how the kind of peace that you bring into a fight. Think of Fedor.
Yeah.
Right? He said, I pray every time I go to the ring, but everyone said that he was like super like intimidating, just that walkout. But he was just concentrating and thinking to himself and praying to himself, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just really cool. It's a kind of aspect that people forget. They think of the spectacle, they think of the blood sport, but it's a martial art.
Yeah.
And martial art is a discipline, right?
Yeah.
And it's a philosophy.
Remember, MMA
and it's
is
mixed martial arts, so it's not one type of like yoga or something. It's just whatever you bring to it.
Well, what also people need to understand is there's a difference between MMA as a philosophy and a way of life, and MMA as a competition. What you see in the UFC, that's the competition aspect of it. What you see, how you see the fighters act and what they believe in and how they view training, that's the martial artist part. You know, people forget that's what they are. They're martial artists. They're not just athletes doing things. You know, it's just you gotta have that compartmentalization. You have to be able to understand the difference between the two, because I think sometimes too many fans don't understand that. They don't understand why a guy could knock another person out and then not think twice about it. They don't understand why sometimes people will cry over something as minuscule as, you know, but how can you cry even though you didn't do anything? I'm just like, well, it's an emotional and an adrenaline though. Fighting is the conduit to release those emotions, you know. And Roy McDonald famously retired because he just wasn't sure if he liked hurting people anymore. And people looked at him and said, that's weird. I'm like, wait, how is that weird? That's actually the most normal. That might be the best reason I've ever heard anyone retire from MMA. You know, we get so desensitized to the notion of competition and, you know, being at odds with each other. We never really factor in just the toll it takes on you mentally to be able to, you know, like to conjure up reasons to hurt another person. You know, it's almost kind of antithetical to be able to live as a person and go, I need to find a reason to hurt somebody every day. You know, it's but yet we as a society we frown upon, you know, in certain avenues, we frown upon kindness, we frown upon empathy, because it's not conducive to the ruthless nature of competition.
What do you think?
You know?
Like, I'm just thinking of the term actually about women weaken legs. So as a fighter, sometimes they have a thing where they don't want to have sex before they go out because they want to get, or they do.
Right.
Pent up. You think of Mike Tyson threw everything out the window. He was a crazy lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, do you lose a hunger maybe? Like, we would have to be fighters to know when you have a, or maybe you gain a hunger when you have a family to provide for, or like, or I think that could, the emotional, the life. I know that Randy was going through a divorce when he lost the title.
Yeah.
And he beat Tito, he beat Chuck.
Yeah.
And then he kind of had personal problems. And like, it is a thing where like there has been a girlfriend one time in an old UFC fight. I think it might have even been not our league of UFC, but a girlfriend came to the cage and started yelling and caused the scene, and it went viral.
Huh.
And then people are like, "Control your hoe, man."
Oh no,
it's like it's
stupid.
But
not the girl being emotional, but
thing.
everyone saying control your. What are you talking about? Somebody's.
But it's
partner,
like
like
it's like
And I love
how,
like I said,
people's love life determines like a lot of what's going on,
well,
what fight they'll take.
Yeah,
maybe.
well, it is very psychological ways. It's that psychology, because fighting is a selfish sport, and when it becomes selfless, that's when it becomes very, very complicated, because it's not just your well-being. You're putting your well-being at stake, and then multiple people are invested in it. It'd be one thing if it was just you. I'd be like, oh, what happens to me happens to me. Who cares? I don't care what happens to me, but your wife does, your kids do, and that definitely factors in. I mean, along with all the other things, your diminishing skills, whether or not you could do it, or your motivation to continue, it definitely plays a part. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone else says we need to keep these things separate. We can't. That's why I'm not. People won't marry until they're done fighting.
Well, think about this. Yeah. Ronda was dominant when she was single.
Yeah.
Then when she had a boyfriend, she lost.
That I think was more. That's more conjecture than anything. The sport was catching up to her, and and then whatever issues she had. I think it was an amalgamation of things. I think the sport was catching up to Ronda, and I think Ronda was feeling that pressure. I don't want to say feeling that pressure, because she's already been dealing with pressure.
What about this? Pat Barry being a terrible cornerman, in my opinion, for Namajunas. And, like, my finger's broken. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry. It's like... And she's with him kind of because they're together.
Yeah.
Could she have reached a different status and still been champion had Pat not been in her life? Or did Pat bring her and she's got to stay with the one that brought her?
Right. I mean, there's something admirable about the loyalty she stayed with him, but obviously the issues between them.
We don't really know.
Not between,
for one, why are they fiancés for like 10 years?
Yeah, no, well, I mean, the issue with Pat Barry and Rose Namajunas isn't just the fact that they're together; it's the circumstances of why they're together, and yeah, we'll touch on that.
Well, you're talking about you think she was underage when they first met?
Yeah, well, they were. She was underage. It was really, really.
They refute that together because they know their dating timeline more than any.
Well, they did, but
bum-crumb journalist.
But there was something to be said about that's why it was considered grooming, because she didn't know any better. It's not even that she didn't know any better. It's about the vulnerability of like, hey, it's okay, because it felt right for her, but Pat was supposed to be the one that knew better because of what their age gap was. Because he was, when he's sitting there saying, I'm paraphrasing, but like, when he talks about how he like fell for her the first time he saw her, like, dude, you were like 28, 29, and she was like 15 allegedly. I'm like, you fell in love with her at first sight? Like, come on, this isn't 1580.
Elvis used to back out on teenagers.
And that's not a good thing.
And he was like,
listen, I need you guys
15 will give you 15 to life.
Yeah.
And they actually interviewed these old ladies.
Yeah.
And they're like, he never went very far.
Yeah.
He never crossed the line. And maybe it's a fucking thing where he saw something in her, but I don't know that he definitely didn't date her until she was that age.
Well, I mean, he definitely told her. Again, the inappropriateness of it is like, why are you harboring those feelings for people that young at that development age when you're supposed to know better? That's the problem.
Hopefully, if he did say that that the love at the first sight thing, hopefully it was in a compassionate way. Like, I'm being charitable. Like, you can have compassion and love for this teammate.
True.
I love this kid.
Fair.
And then
that's fair, but that's just.
But
he shouldn't. But he shouldn't.
They are fine with their relationship.
Well, I mean, of course they are, but at the end of the day, listen.
Love life affects our lives.
Well, listen. I mean, always it's part of the psychological makeup of a person's being. Like, if their love life isn't right, then everything else could be okay. But if there's that one little cog in the system,
I'm in love with a lesbian, and that's complicated. Yeah, Brittany, a lesbian, and said like she'd be willing to marry me. We were talking about like, because she's kind of goes both ways and she's.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, this is what's going on in my life. Love lives can be complicated. How about you?
I'm not in that boat right now. I've fortunately or unfortunately haven't been in a relationship, so I'm.
You ever been married?
Nope.
No kids?
No kids. No. And I mean, I would like to be a father, especially now at my age, but wasn't in the cards.
If the good fellas and De Niro's and the Godfather guys can do it in their 80s. You don't have to worry about it.
I mean, I'm not trying to get to that point, but hopefully I'll have kids sooner than that.
So, like, I've always wanted to have kids since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Have you ever gotten to that point where, like, just for fun, thought of baby names?
Yeah, sure.
Like, I love the hutch that my mom had with all kinds of crystal in it from Princess House Crystal, and I just thought Crystal is a really cute name for a kid. When I was 5 years old, I thought that.
Yeah.
And then as I've grown older, I've thought of different names for boys. Have you ever thought of any name that rung true to you? Like, I'd like to name my kid something.
I mean, I always jokingly thought that I should have. I mean, my name is Mike. It's the most famous name ever. But there were some times where I thought I was a Jason. I think somebody told me they like, you look like a Jason. I don't know what that means, but I was like, I always liked the name Jason. But yeah, I think right now Jason would be a cool name I would give to a son. A daughter, I have a few in mind, but I never really picked one out in particular. Not because I didn't have any. I hadn't really thought about it. I would honestly like a daughter.
How about matching names?
Matching names? Oh.
You know, in How I Met Your Mother, Ted wanted to name his kids Luke and Leia.
Oh,
he got to name one of them, I think Leia, but he could name the boy Luke or something like that.
You gotta be more original than that. You just pick the most famous brother-sister name in pop culture, arguably. But yeah, that's one of those things. I mean, I definitely think about it. Children are definitely something. By the way, there's also nothing wrong with somebody who doesn't want children. You know.
Yeah. Which is like every girlfriend I've ever had. Like, I don't want kids.
Maybe they don't
put a lid on it.
Well, maybe they don't want to have kids with you. But,
or they have kids already and they don't want more.
Yeah, but no, it's definitely. I mean, heck, speaking of, you know, we were just touching on that dynamic as fighters. So I'm like, I don't know what would be harder for a fighter, having a significant other or having children as a fighter. Like, what would you be more worried about?
Look at Rampage. His kid's going crazy right now.
I mean, that there's a whole bunch of amateur psychology that needs to be that I'm not going to try and touch on because I'm at no place.
So you went into the ring of a wrestling match and beat the ever-loving tar out of the wrestler.
That who apparently kayfabe had already, not just kayfabe, but already had apologized and what he thought was straightening out. Be like, hey, this is all kayfabe, not really messing with you prior. And then apparently Roger was caught in film saying, like, I don't care, I'm going to do this, I'm going to teach this kid a lesson, I'm going to shoot on him. And what happened. It was abhorrent.
And Rampage, his opinion I heard on his podcast, that maybe he should go through the system and be on probation and learn his lesson. I
mean, that's fair, but also as the dad, I mean, listen, it's unfair sometimes to the parents to expect them to just. Sometimes they've done enough parenting, and sometimes at the end of the day, the world's the one that needs to do it. But I don't know.
They could afford lawyers.
Yeah,
he's like, nah, he's throwing them to the wolves.
Right,
but, in a fatherly way, like.
Yeah, I guess. You know, I mean, like I said, that's a very delicate situation.
Father knows best.
Now, when your dad is Rampage, does he? I don't know. I mean. I mean, he's one of my favorite UFC champions of all time. I thought he was one of the best personalities MMA needed at the time. But yeah, as a public figure, it's very complicated. It's very complicated with him. I've heard he's been really kind to people, but other instances he's been a little bit off-putting. But as a father, I can't really pass a judgment on him. Not right away. At least I can make some comments, but obviously because we see how his kids are. But you know, sometimes. Do you pay for the sins of the son as much as they pay for the sins of the father? Like,
we can make so many comments tonight. Yeah. Comments after comments. Yeah. We're going to wrap it up soon. Some final thoughts and plugging and everything you want to plug.
Yeah,
What's going on in your life?
A lot. Don't really want to talk about it right now. It's not for.
What's going on on your feed?
Oh my God, on my feed. Let's see. I'm on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitter, same handle. Mike JB Knows. That's MikeJBKNOWS on Instagram and Twitter, and then of course on Blue Sky it's that handle with the Blue Sky tag, you know, .B Sky. Just yeah, man. It's been really good talking, just chopping up shop here on the fabulous Las Vegas Strip in front of the Luxor.
Fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm your host, President Polo. As a reminder, check out my links on my About page. I encourage you to see my movie recommendations on Letterboxd, on USA, HEY USA, on some of the other.
What did you think about the
medias.
Superman film? What did you think about James Gunn's Superman and Fantastic Four? Did you get to see those?
One simple comment I have about James Gunn's Superman. Motherfucking James Gunn knows how to make a comic book flick.
Yes, he does.
End of story.
Right.
That guy, he does it right.
He does it right, man.
You know?
Also, like Peacemaker, man. Watch Peacemaker, season 1 and season 2. Watch it. He knows.
And watch the deleted scenes from season 1 bloopers where he name drops a bunch of people randomly.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Also watch Creature Commandos, the animated series.
I saw that.
Yeah,
oh man, the robot is good. It has such a good backstory.
Man,
the racist robot.
No, the Nazi killing robot.
Yeah, right.
The Nazi killing robot.
But he's racist.
General, who was he? General.
He makes references to Jewish people and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's a little. But it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just kills Nazis. That was
so
awesome.
Yeah, man, we're making recommendations out here. We'll be here as always online in this online age.
It's swimming through the web, or is it tangle in the web? It's funny, like it's the web, but it's like we're supposed to crawling through the web. Is that what it is? Anyways, guys, be Harry Square.
Good night.